Good afternoon, President, members and guests. As Carol just mentioned, my name's Sam Stevens and I'm apparently one of the youngest members of the club. And so Kate and I were both asked to do a small presentation, mainly for our younger guests today, just to talk about really what the club does, what Rotary does as a whole, service aspect, and I thought it was important to actually talk about what we actually do for the younger people in society as well. So, my first question would be, where are we and what do we do now? And according to the internet and Wikipedia, Rotary is an organisation of 34,000 clubs with 1.2 million members worldwide. We are predominantly business and community leaders and feel the need to give back to our communities. So that's what the internet tells us. That being said, do most people actually know who we are and what we do? I would actually hazard a guess and say no. I have this idea that a lot of people envisage that this is what a Rotary Club is like, even in this day and age. That we are that we are older gentlemen that sit around quaffing wine, drinking sherry and drinking port. And of course, I tell people that's only on Thursdays. But we have made some dramatic changes in recent years, such as allowing women to join our clubs. It was not so long ago that women were not part of Rotary clubs. What's that? As well as that, we now have a website. We joined the 21st century. We're also on Facebook. These sorts of things are essential for us to survive into the future because this is how we find out our information. Now, just to give you a quick overview as to some of the major projects that Rotary does on a global scale and on a local scale. One of the biggest projects that Rotary does on a global scale is polio eradication. Now, I would hazard a guess that potentially the younger people in the room might not be aware as to what polio is. Would you guys down the back know what polio is? No? Polio was an incredibly disabling disease back in the 30s and 40s when it actually took off, in the 50s as well. And the gist of it is that it would affect the muscles of the body and so you couldn't perform properly. Whether that means you couldn't move your arms or your legs or you had breathing difficulties, etc. Now, just to give you an example of how chronic things did get for people, this is what's called an iron lung. Now, people who had breathing difficulties would have to spend long periods of time attached to this machine. And what would happen is the body would actually go into this machine here with a little head poking out the top there, just to help the body breathe. And as you can see down here is actually a wing in an Australian hospital in the 40s, full of polio patients all lined up. One of our more local projects that we work with is with the Wellington Free Ambulance. And what they do at the moment is they're going around Wellington putting in defibrillators. And so what a defibrillator does is it actually allows, if someone's having a heart attack or a heart problem, it allows quick access to the zapping machine to spark the heart back into life. But of course, Rotary is not just about health projects, it's not just about polio and it's not just about Wellington Free Ambulance. We do a lot of things for young people. Our RILA program is very, very successful. It basically works with younger people to encourage leadership and teamwork and entrepreneurship as well. What happens is children are selected, or should I say children 18 years and above, are selected to go on these leadership programs. They have guest speakers such as Sam Morgan, graphic design artists, fashion designers and IT experts, etc. So they're very, very interesting and very, very modern speakers there who have been able to create businesses or become the top in their profession. As well as that, everyone that I've spoken to has made new friends at RILA. And they've found that it's been especially good in the fact that some of them had not been very confident in groups before. They've actually found that this is a really good environment to become more confident in groups, talk with groups, and actually lead them. One of the other major things that we work with the young people is youth exchanges. So with the youth exchanges, Rotary will sponsor younger people who wish to go overseas, whether it be to Europe, America, I'm not quite sure about Africa, and we place them with a host family over there. And those families are often Rotary families who will look after yourselves while you're over there, take you around, show you obviously all the local attractions, and you attend school while you're there as well. So one of our key people that has actually been on a youth exchange is Kate, who's about to talk to you now.
Thank you. As Sam mentioned, I was fortunate enough when I was 16 to attend a youth exchange to the Isle of Man, of all places. Now, it was a short-term exchange with an academic component, and one of the main reasons for going was to complete my Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Duke of Edinburgh Award is, it's a program that has 3 tiers, bronze, silver and gold, and for each tier you have to complete a sport, learn a new skill, go on an expedition, and obviously undertake service or volunteer. So fortunately for me, there was a school in the Isle of Man whose Rotary Club had sponsored them to travel to New Zealand to complete their expedition, and that school approached my school and the exchange came to life. And obviously Rotary sponsored myself and some of my school colleagues, and that enabled us to get to where we were going. So I'll just apologise in advance for the photos. We didn't have digital cameras back then, so I think I had one roll of film for the whole trip, so the photos are a little bit boring, but bear with me. So the first stop on this exchange was Hong Kong, and the photo on the left there is obviously some of my schoolmates and I arriving in Hong Kong. And the photo on the right is Monica, who was the girl I was billeted with for the best part of 2 weeks. For those of you who have been involved in hosting billets and exchange students, you probably understand how rewarding it is. Even more rewarding for those of us who were placed with the families to get a really good understanding of the culture and how they live their lives. And so for 2 weeks I shadowed Monica, attending her school, going to her after-school commitments. And I think the biggest culture shock arriving in Hong Kong was to see the school. Coming from a rural farm in Hawke's Bay, we had massive sports grounds and predominantly single-storey buildings, but Monica's school was 15 stories high in the CBD. When I was asked to play a game of soccer towards the end of my stay, I was intrigued as to where we were going to go to play this soccer, and it was to the roof. They had an artificial turf on the roof, 15 stories above the ground. A little bit of vertigo, but made you a bit nauseous getting too close to the edge, but obviously there was plenty of netting, so the balls weren't going to fly too far. While I was also there, we undertook service as part of the exchange, and we went to a local island called Lama Island, armed with Roche bags, and it was fantastic. It sounds rather boring to pick up rubbish for a day, but we were given free rein to explore the island with the other students on the condition that we returned to a set place with a bag full of rubbish, and a fresh fish dinner was our reward. This was probably the freshest fish dinner I'd ever had. There was a beautiful fish tank on this wharf. I think restaurants is probably the best way to describe it, which I thought looked really pretty, but as I learned 20 minutes later, that was where I ordered. So I pointed to these pretty fish and had them cooked for me. So it was a unique experience I certainly won't forget in a hurry. So from Hong Kong, I then went to the Isle of Man, and I don't know if you're like me, but I had no idea where this was before the exchange, but it's in the Irish Sea and has a population of about 80,000 people. It's known for a few things. They have a cat called the Manx cat, which either has no tail or a very stumpy tail. The cat with no tail is known as a rumpy, and the cat with a short tail is known as a stumpy. Also, Top Gear do a lot of the filming for their car sequences there. Obviously great roads, beautiful scenery, and with an island population of only 80,000, there's not too many complaints when they shut the roads for filming. Finally, Isle of Man also has a mountain called Snaefell, which is really just a big hill. We climbed it in about an hour and a half in jeans and sneakers. But what is great about it is that once you are at the top, you can see 5 countries. So England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and obviously the Isle of Man. So we travelled over to the Isle of Man on a boat from Liverpool, and in December, freezing cold, but the reception we got when we arrived was just so incredibly warm. All the school children had come to meet us with their families and teachers and locals, and we were dispatched to our billet host families. I was with the Whelans, and Bree was my billet, who I was billeted to. They were fantastic and made a real effort to try and sample all these local foods for me. Kippers for breakfast was something I never quite got the hang of, and it was small fish, whole. But again, like in Hong Kong, I attended school for 6 weeks with Bree, which was fantastic. There was no exams, no tests, so I just got to go along and learn what they were learning and get to meet a whole raft of people my own age and find out how they live their lives on this island. The history class and the geography class were my favourites, and I was very disappointed that I had to leave after 6 weeks, because I found that obviously being in Europe meant you were easily accessible to continental Europe. And the history class was travelling to Germany for their 4th form school project, or year 10 school project, and the geography class was going to France. Part of the geography class as well was that I had to talk about New Zealand, which seemed quite straightforward, so the students, other Kiwi students and I thought this would be really simple, but we learnt that our knowledge didn't really extend too much past Hawke's Bay, so they did take a bit of research, and one of the questions I'll never forget that I was asked while I was giving this talk on New Zealand was how many mud pools I had on our farm. So Rotary tourism was obviously promoting itself really well. That was where they were getting most of their information. Part of obviously being on the Isle of Man as well was that we were heavily involved in service and volunteering, especially given that it was Christmas and the season of giving. So we were fundraising for charities, going around and collecting food for the food bank, gift wrapping toys for the underprivileged children there, and just generally having a fantastic time getting to meet and know everyone. For Christmas Eve, we had dinner at Government House with the Governor-General and his wife, and obviously had my first cold Christmas there, which was a whole new experience, and sadly didn't have snow, but it was cold enough to make up for it. One of the treats we also got from the families was they took us to Hogmanay for New Year's, which is the Edinburgh New Year's celebration, or Scottish celebration, and we went to Edinburgh for a massive street party, which was, as a 16-year-old, absolutely fantastic, heavily supervised. But we got to hear the music, be part of the entertainment, and got flown to Scotland for New Year's, which was really cool. So it was a real shame to have to leave when the time came up, and we were very disappointed. But one of the beauties of this exchange was the reciprocity with the students at the Isle of Man, because obviously they came out to New Zealand and we got to host them. So thanks to my mum, who keeps all newspaper clippings and anything related to her children, I dug these 2 pictures out that were printed in different newspapers. The top one is from a Hawke's Bay newspaper where we took the Isle of Man students around Lake Waikaremoana on a tramp for 4 days, which was absolutely fantastic. And the photo below is our group obviously at Government House in the Isle of Man for dinner. So I think it's pretty clear that I had a great time, and obviously really appreciate all the sponsorship that I got from Rotary. It was a life-changing trip, and how this all came about was down to service. Before I had even heard of Duke of Edinburgh, I was, like Josh, refereeing for a girls' netball team, and one of my friends had mentioned that seeing as I was already playing a sport and doing service, maybe I should get involved in this Duke of Edinburgh award program. I might find that I could get the award quite easily, which was a mistake. It wasn't that easy, but I had a great time doing it. Service is really important for those of guests today, and I really encourage you to get involved with it. We all know that the benefits include feeling good about giving to others and the great friendships that you make. But I think for me what really hit home in terms of service was how trying to imagine a world without it. A teacher once asked me what would I do if in my environment there was no volunteering. And being from a small area, I realised that would mean no school bus, because the school bus was manned by retirees, no sports coaches, no sports referees, and no fire service. The list goes on. So for those of you who have joined us today, I just really encourage you to have a think about what you enjoy doing and what you're good at, because you'll find that there are so many opportunities out there to provide service, and if you can mix it with what you enjoy doing, it actually is really enjoyable. It may be that you enjoy fundraising or tree planting, which this club is involved with annually, also cleaning up areas, beautifying your environment. The possibilities are endless, so I encourage you to get out there and give it all a go. As I tried to explain from my exchange, the opportunities can be really exciting, and service basically was the reason behind all of it. So I thought I'd just finally leave you with one thought, and that was, you should never underestimate the importance of volunteers in service. Noah's Ark was built by volunteers. The Titanic was built by professionals.
I definitely think the associate membership is a really big step. That is, it allows people to be a bit more flexible with what they can contribute, especially for younger professionals who are obviously working really, really hard to get up the career ladders, families and things. So the associate membership actually makes it more available to those sorts of people. One of the other ideas, and I have started talking with Tony about this, is potentially changing the structure of some of the meetings every now and then sporadically, and that way maybe just sort of shake things up a bit, so that rather than a lunch we may, for instance, go down to the wine loft or something like that and actually have a cocktail lunch, for instance. And so just a few things like that to see if they work, to see if people like them.
One thing that I really enjoyed, and it was at a club in the Isle of Man that actually did it, was they had a mentoring program. So the junior members of the club, who say my age, were mentored by professionals who maybe had the similar practice or similar sphere of expertise. So there was that knowledge sharing, and that seemed to get a lot of buy-in from younger people who wanted to learn more, and this was a great forum to do it.
So I have been selected to obviously go to this Peace Forum in Hiroshima, which is a stunning opportunity, absolutely stunning, because obviously we'll be speaking about service and how we can promote world peace and actually have it filter through the clubs. And one of the key things that I'm hoping to achieve from this trip as well is actually linking up with some of the clubs in Hiroshima as well as Tokyo, so that we can actually get some exchanges going backwards and forwards, because I personally believe that that is one of the greatest opportunities that Rotary gives to the younger people, is the exchange program. And so if we can encourage more people to come and visit us and potentially send more people their way as well, not only is it raising the awareness of Rotary, but as Kate is an example, she has now become a Rotarian after partaking at a younger level at obviously the exchanges and doing service opportunities when she was younger.